Hi guys, I want to welcome you to another day here at Fox 5 Live. It's Monday, August 14th. We're really excited to be with you guys here today. Thanks so much for bearing with us. If you usually tune in around 11:30, we had some technical issues in the studio today, so we're still working through those. But have a lot of exciting stuff to share with you guys today. Obviously, we are following continued coverage of the Charlottesville mayhem that erupted this past weekend with the domestic terrorism and the neo-Nazis in downtown Charlottesville. Really a horrible, horrible weekend. We've been covering it all morning on our morning shows. So now I'm here in the digital newsroom, assisted by my lovely IT support guy, Terrence, who you guys see sometimes when you're on. But I want to thank you guys for joining our stream. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with a little issue where I don't have lower thirds to caption what is going on, but I'm going to describe to you guys in full detail as much as possible what we're going to be watching. Today, I have planned out a couple things. We're going to see what comes in live, as we usually do. And so we have a mix of stuff coming in, but shortly from now, we're actually going to be hearing a statement from President Trump in the White House. He traveled from New Jersey today. As you guys probably know, we've been talking about this. He was on vacation for a good 17-day trip, his first major vacation while in office. And he traveled today, and we caught that kind of live watching the source of him land back at the White House, where he is slated to meet with AG, Attorney General Jeff Sessions today, and the FBI Director Christopher Wray to discuss the chaos in Charlottesville. So a quick live picture at what this is going to look like as they're setting up right there for the scene for him to deliver some remarks. Not sure if there'll be long remarks or what kind of address this will be, but we do know that he met with Sessions around 11:30, and this will sort of be a statement surrounding that. So we're going to go make sure we go over to that live. Be sure to stay here for that. I'm going to catch it right when it comes up. Also, I'm going to tease you guys another cool thing. One of our contacts, a guest, his name is Joe Carabeo. He's going to be on. He's going to be Skyping in with us. He was an eyewitness on the ground in the midst of all the violence, really, and the fighting that occurred in Charlottesville this weekend. He was there on another job. He happened to be in the thick of it, caught some really insane, incredible footage of what was going on down there. I'm going to have him live on the show to talk back with me and tell us more about his experience there and just sort of what it was like to be down there. We'll show you some video that he filmed as well and continued coverage of that as everything kind of rolls out today. A lot of other cool things too. NASA is scheduled to have a launch of a SpaceX CRS-12. It's a cargo unit that's going to be shipped up to the International Space Station. That will be live from Kennedy Space Center. We're going to try to catch that when it happens, I think in this next hour. So a lot of stuff kind of like slated. We don't really know what will come down. If you guys are new to the stream or maybe you're just joining us or maybe you're an old regular, welcome. You can feel free to chat with me on the live chat on the right of your screen. And if you're not a subscriber, you can click the button that says subscribe, that red button right below this picture, so that you can be part of our channel and see when we bring you live news. So for now, I'm going to flash it over to this bump shot where President Trump is slated to come up shortly. I actually don't have a time on that, and we're going to be working on some technical stuff on our end. But for now, I'm Molly Nevola here in the digital newsroom with my IT guy, Terrence, saying hey, helping me out today on this Monday. Stay with us, guys. We're going to bring you more as we get it in live, all having to do with the Charlottesville coverage this past weekend and more as that happens. All right, guys, stay with us. Giving you a shot inside the White House now where this is expected to come down very shortly. guys, if you're just joining us on the stream, welcome to Fox 5 Live. You're looking at a podium shot right now in advance of President Trump. He's about to come out and make a statement. We know that he met with Attorney General Jeff Sessions earlier today, about an hour ago or so, after flying in from New Jersey, landing back here at Joint Base Andrews, and then coming to the White House. So we're expected that he will make some comments on, of course, the incidents and the violence in Charlottesville from this past weekend. If he does, this will be the second time that he brings it up, that he speaks about Charlottesville, and this coming after a lot of criticism, of course, that he did not directly address the white nationalism and violence that occurred in that incident this weekend. So we're waiting to hear from him. We're going to see what he has to say, and taking this to social media as well. So you can join us here on YouTube or on our Facebook page for these remarks. Unfortunately, I'm having a slight tech issue here where I don't have a caption as to what exactly you're watching. So I'm going to try to punctuate as much as I can to tell you what you're seeing here on digital. But for now, we're waiting around for his remarks. And once he comes up to that podium, I'll bring that volume right up so we can check in with that. Just some background here. We know Attorney General Jeff Sessions, whom Trump met with this morning, said on Monday that it was an evil attack in Charlottesville, and it met the legal definition of an act of domestic terrorism. So we'll see what President Trump has to say about that, if he reiterates those words, and how that all goes just shortly here from the White House. Separately, also, the person allegedly involved in the second-degree murder, James Fields Jr., was arraigned in court today. He'll stay in jail until August 25th, where he will have a bond hearing, and we'll see what his bond will be set at, and then if he has a preliminary hearing date as well. So that is all ongoing, but we were live, our reporters were live in Charlottesville, Virginia this morning with more updates on that. We will continue to update you guys as well. Our web stories will be all updated, written online on fox5dc.com, and we're going to keep up to date here on digital as well. So check in right here to the YouTube channel, Fox 5 Live, Fox 5 DC, and also on our Facebook page, we'll be continuing to stream the important bits and the clips from today's events. So this obviously coming up next, we're going to take this live, and you guys feel free to comment on it. Let me know your thoughts, and if you have any questions or comments along the way, feel free to use that chat box that you see on the right side, and I'll answer your questions and shout you out from the digital news desk. So guys, we'll go back to this podium shot, and hopefully this will start shortly. Once again, President Trump to make some remarks today, and we're expecting him to talk about Charlottesville for what is to be, if he does, the second time after facing a lot of criticism for not denouncing the events as white nationalism and violence on Saturday. So we'll hear what they have to say. That's all coming up next, guys, here on Fox 5 Live. Stay with us.
Thank you. I'm in Washington today to meet with my economic team about trade policy and major tax cuts and reform. We are renegotiating trade deals and making them good for the American worker, and it's about time. Our economy is now strong. The stock market continues to hit record highs. Unemployment is at a 16-year low, and businesses are more optimistic than ever before. Companies are moving back to the United States and bringing many thousands of jobs with them. We have already created over 1 million jobs since I took office. We will be discussing economic issues in greater detail later this afternoon. But based on the events that took place over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia, I would like to provide the nation with an update on the ongoing federal response to the horrific attack and violence that was witnessed by everyone. I just met with FBI Director Christopher Wray and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The Department of Justice has opened a civil rights investigation into the deadly car attack that killed one innocent American and wounded 20 others. To anyone who acted criminally in this weekend's racist violence, you will be held fully accountable. Justice will be delivered. As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And as I have said many times before, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God. We must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence. We must rediscover the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together as Americans. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal. We are equal in the eyes of our Creator. We are equal under the law, and we are equal under our Constitution. Those who spread violence in the name of bigotry strike at the very core of America. 2 days ago, a young American woman, Heather Heyer, was tragically killed. Her death fills us with grief, and we send her family our thoughts, our prayers, and our love. We also mourn the 2 Virginia state troopers who died in service to their community, their Commonwealth, and their country. Troopers Jay Cullen and Burke Bates exemplify the very best of America, and our hearts go out to their families, their friends, and every member of American law enforcement. These 3 fallen Americans embody the goodness and decency of our nation. In times such as these, America has always shown its true character, responding to hate with love, division with unity, and violence with an unwavering resolve for justice. As a candidate, I promise to restore law and order to our country, and our federal law enforcement agencies are following through on that pledge. We will spare no resource in fighting so that every American child can grow up free from violence and fear. We will defend and protect the sacred rights of all Americans, and we will work together so that every citizen in this blessed land is free to follow their dreams in their hearts and to express the love and joy in their souls. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, do you regret not mentioning the white supremacists on Saturday?
Why did you not condemn these groups
Do you
on
regret
Saturday,
not saying
sir?
this earlier, sir?
So there you have it, guys. If you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, thanks for watching our stream here at Fox 5 Live. Some short remarks there from the president. This was the second time that he spoke about Charlottesville, about the chaos and the violence that erupted there this weekend, and quite notably different than some of the words he was using and under attack for and under criticism for this past weekend when he didn't use those words, white supremacist, racism, bigotry. Today he addressed all those things, all those words used, saying that the KKK, neo-Nazism, and white supremacy has no place in America. So a little bit different today, guys. I'm curious to see what you think. Let us know on the chat below, comment below, or in the live chat on YouTube. Let us know your thoughts and comments. We want to hear from you guys. And with that, that will end the remarks from the president this morning. We'll go back to a bump shot of the White House, guys. Live look outside the White House. Thanks for joining us. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us on YouTube. We are back in the studio here, and in just a moment, I'm going to be joined by a special guest. Guys, a friend of mine and also a filmmaker, photographer in the DMV area. Guys, he was an eyewitness account to the violence, like I said, that erupted in Charlottesville, and it's interesting to kind of play out sort of all our follow on this, right? The remarks from the president, continued coverage from the vigils that have been held there in Charlottesville where everything happened. And now I'm just going to pop him up here. He's joining us on Skype. Hi, Joe. Can you hear me?
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Joe? Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us here today. We are super happy to have you on. And I know that I really want to start from the beginning because you're a really great source for this. In fact, just to tell our viewers, Joe was one of the people who fed in some of the video to me, and we were able to feed it back to our desk here in DC at Fox 5 DC because he was there really for another reason. Joe, tell me quickly your account. Why were you in Charlottesville this weekend? What happened?
Really, it was a last-minute thing where, you know, you're a filmmaker, you get jobs at the last minute. You don't really know what it is until you sort of get there.
Mm-hmm.
Last second, they're looking for a camera operator to go and document for the show on Epix called America Divided. So, of course, you know, let's go do it.
Take the gig.
I'm all for it. So I really didn't know what I was exactly getting into. I just knew, you know, there's a rally happening. You know, I really didn't know exactly the chaos or the hostile environment I was getting into until like the morning. I went to drive down to Charlottesville probably like at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I saw the video footage of people getting beaten up by, you know, a bunch of Nazis at the statue holding torches, and I was like, this is what I'm getting into today?
Wow.
So, you know, I gotta do my job. I'm gonna go right into it. So immediately I sort of had a feeling that it was gonna be a hostile environment. So yeah, I was down there filming for the TV show, the Epix TV show America Divided.
Wow. So right now, I'm just tell the viewers that I'm playing out some of the video that you sent in. It's sort of behind you, and you're sort of talking over it. So you start filming, and then what did things sort of escalate to? What did you really see? What's the worst of it?
Well, what's really interesting though is because I was there. I feel like I was there. Probably started filming at 8 o'clock, maybe like 7:30 to 8 o'clock. We got onto the campus. The first thing we did, the first people we saw marching was the protesters.
Yeah.
And, they were peaceful protesting. We went into those crowds, and they already had their talks happening. A lot of love signs, a lot of, you know, people with positivity, and, you know, we were there. So it was very peaceful. It was very peaceful in that gathering. And what was also interesting is that, you know, when I was listening to the talks and I was documenting, I have my camera and my phone, and I'm fit and ready to work. Was one thing that was really interesting that I heard was they said, like, be careful out there. You're in enemy territory. You have a lot of bad people, and don't walk around alone because something bad can happen. So stay close, take care of each other. And once I heard that, you know, you sort of have a feeling that you are in a hostile environment. And so from that point, you know, I filmed as much as I could. I mean, it's talks. It's America Divided.
Yeah.
That you're sort of, I know it's harsh to say, but you're sort of looking for conflict because that's sort of the stuff you need for a show, you know, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't film a show America Divided without actually showing America Divided, which is amazing. Because people will sort of, from what I heard, because I was with the producer who was also a camera operator there, when he pitched that show, people laughed at him, saying, like, America Divided.
Right.
America is not divided. And then once the show actually premiered last fall, then people started seeing, like, okay, I think you were on to something. Go out there and do it. So from that point, when I started walking over to where the where the other rally was happening, there was no one was there yet. That was supposed to start at 10:30. I walked over there probably around maybe 9 o'clock, 9:15. What I did was I followed the police, and there was quite a bit of police there. they were standing around, they're getting ready, and they're surrounding the area. They were all wearing I guess the neon, the neon flickers and vest and stuff like that. And then also I walked directly and I started Instagramming live.
Yeah.
I get addicted to that. This seems like something I should try to do live at the very moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there were also, other militiamen that were lined up in front of where the rally was supposed to take place. Heavily armed in their camouflage, ready for action, anything. And to me, that was sort of freaky. They were on both sides, and it was a very sort of. The other side was calm. This one was quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. The other rally was calm. This one was quiet, but it was sort of like an eerie quiet. It felt like, this is a place where something could break down, and I mean, this is the place where something will break down eventually.
Almost like something was going to erupt. It was getting ready to erupt. The quiet into something more violent.
Yeah, because you're in a location where, for one thing, there are so many cops, there are so many militia. It's not like they're preparing to go to Disneyland. It felt like they sort of knew. What do you expect? You get essentially, what do you expect when you get so many hate groups in one area?
Mm-hmm.
You hear so many stories of there's shootings happening in places where it's just one person with a gun, and he's part of a hate group, and he's part of this group. What do you expect when you get a whole entire rally of all of them put into one location?
Yeah.
That's not, to me, it's not really that's not really the best sign of hey, this is I mean, I know there's freedom of speech. It's amazing. They should have the right. Everyone should have the right to do it. It's freedom. It's America. But you sort of have to expect. That's why there's so many cops there. They sort of, people knew.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of know. You put hostility into a bottle, that will explode, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, great eyewitness account here. I want to remind our viewers, guys, if you're watching, this is Joe Carabeo. He's a local filmmaker, photographer, and he happened to be down in Charlottesville, in downtown Charlottesville on Saturday for a gig to shoot for this show, right, Joe, that you've been kind of called to work on here and there. And really, some of the video footage that I was just showing you, I'm going to flash it back there. This is all raw kind of video from Joe that he sent in, and I gathered some of it together.
It's not from the show. This is literally just from my phone. There are moments where I was double. I was like, okay, phone and really expensive, awesome camera.
Right. Right. I was gonna actually ask you if any of that footage is actually for. Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask you if any of that is actually to use, but it sounds like you were doing both. You had one in your hand, over your shoulder, and your phone in your hand. But I have to ask, because Lindsay just commented on our live chat saying, glad Joe made it back alive. Tell me honestly, how scary was this? Were you caught in the thick of it at any point where you were like, I got to get out of here and stop filming this? Or how scary was it to be in the thick of that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you the truth. There was a lot of cameras there. There were cameras for both sides.
Yeah.
Everyone had a camera. I mean, someone made a comment on one of my Instagram posts saying it seemed like there were more cameras than actual protesters, and I'd like to detest that. There was lots of cameras, but there was definitely a lot. There's definitely a lot on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost equivalent to Game of Thrones. It's like when you think there wasn't enough, there would be another rally coming up the street, and then you'd hear this amazing roar of people here comes the cavalry, here's people to join our troops. But it was happening on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
The protesters, they feel like they didn't have enough people or enough love, then all of a sudden they got their people coming. Then all of a sudden, if the white supremacists or Nazis didn't feel like they have enough, then they had another one. I was like, they just keep on coming until the whole entire place was just jam packed with people. But what was amazing though is that there was a lot of cameras there, but I also felt like it's almost like the cameras were the most welcome people there.
Yeah.
sort of really, really strange and hilarious at the same time how I was able to walk freely amongst. I mean, there were sections where I could not go into, of course, but like on the outskirts, I was surrounded by the anti-white supremacists, and the other side, I was in the thick of the white supremacists and Nazis, and there was they have a pathway in which they walk up to go to the rally.
Mm-hmm.
And they take one path, and then I would be on one side documenting like the empty side, and then I would I bumped into one on accident. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man, and he's like, oh, no problem. And then it would happen on the same side where I bump into a protester, and they're like, oh, no problem, it's fine. So it almost felt like, I mean, the media is needed to document all this stuff, but it felt very strange in a way where it was like, wow, I'm surrounded by so much hate.
Yeah.
The most I've ever been surrounded by that I've ever been surrounded by my whole entire life, and yet, like, oh, cool, let the cameraman by.
Right, and that's what I'm gathering from you here, which is crazy to say. So you kind of had the sentiment, the feeling that both sides were welcoming photography and cameras because they want to make their side be known. It was a big show almost.
I I don't say that 100%.
Okay.
But I will say that, because there were many times where both sides would say, "Get that camera out of my face." Hey, break that camera, or they'll flick off the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also several sides where they're like, "Yeah, follow me on Twitter."
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
What? It's almost like this is the type of. There are really moments. I was standing on the hill on the top of a bench, and I think it was for one of the shots you might see where I did like a pan shot with my phone, in which you'd see both sides of the rally, both the protesters and the people being I'd see it all. And after that, I literally took a moment and, like, I'm not gonna say I almost cried, but I almost cried because I was like, this is actually happening.
Right.
This is actually the world. This is actually here, and this is around me. It's sort of surreal, but it's real. And it's like you grow up watching like Indiana Jones,
Mm-hmm.
and they fight Nazis, and I'm like, oh, and you see like, and now I turn my back, and I'm filming like a black police officer have to do its job and defend, defend the white supremacists behind us, and I was like, you're like, what? It's like this world has no sides. It's a circle. You know what I mean? It's like,
I know.
That's why walking, being there, it really was a place that had the most just hatred and animosity that I've ever felt in my whole entire life, while at the same time being welcomed.
Wow. And that's an amazing statement to say, really, Joe, and hearing that from you. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes too. If I could be down there, I could see it as being overwhelmingly emotional, even if for a brief moment, just sort of take yourself away from that and have a little bit of an emotional overcoming. That would definitely be, I think, what I would go through with that. Just seeing that, like you said, that this is real life. This is actually the social world we live in, and I'm here filming it. Is just boggles my mind. But I want to go back quickly to the point you said. There was a slight comparison, unfortunately, to be made, though, to Game of Thrones. And honestly, I was in the newsroom today, and our IT guy, Terrence, who was just here with me, he made that reference, too. He was like, what is this? All these people with shields. He hadn't seen the video footage that you guys are now seeing. And he actually made that comparison, too. So it's actually really surreal that you can actually make that type of comparison to what you saw.
I wasn't expecting anyone with shields. It's amazing when you first see. I guess the first people that marched up was the Vanguard.
Right.
I'm not gonna say I know all these names. I don't know any. I'm really dumb towards all the real official names of everyone. But to see them marching, yelling, was it blood and soil, and like stomping and having their shields. Like I didn't know. They're prepared. I feel like they're prepared to go to battle. Everyone's prepared to go to battle. This was literally a battleground, is what we're stepping into. And a funny part that we mentioned Game of Thrones. So there's a segment, there's a part, and I got this on both of my footage where all all the people who are part of the rally have to walk through the people protesting the rally to get in. So they have to go through the lines of the protesters. So they have to be, they're being yelled at, and they're all yelling back, and they're all coming from all different angles too. An interesting part where some people were yelling shame, like how, in Game of Thrones, like shame to anyone. I don't know if you watch it or not.
But I know I do know that that's part of it.
That.
Yeah.
And what's amazing to me is they're doing shame, and then the white supremacists are making comments back like, "Oh, I watch Game of Thrones too," and
trying to one up each other almost.
They're one up each other with their knowledge of Game of Thrones, and then the thought that comes in my head, I was like, what's crazy is that we're so much hatred that's happening in this exact area that they're all yelling at each other. And Sunday night, they're all gonna go watch HBO and see Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I know. That is crazy to think. You're right. That sort of boggles my mind. And so you guys were seeing, here's the more video footage. I wish I had ingested all of it because, like I said, Joe took a ton of great video, and these were some of the best bites that I grabbed from him as he was traveling back. He quickly transferred them over to me, so you're seeing some really great, compelling video footage. But I'm also curious too. Tell me quickly about the police side of things. How much action were they really taking? I know we saw some like tear gas stuff being thrown, people choking on it. What kind of action was taken by police, or what did you see, or what did you witness for that?
I mean, they were getting a pretty good tan that day.
Yeah.
I didn't visually, and I might be wrong, but from where I was, I mean, there were literally moments. I don't know if you threw the shot up there or if you put the shot up there or not, but I was like right at that front line.
Yeah.
Which is probably the wrong place to be. Literally, I was being, people were saying, this is the front line. If you don't want to, you should not be here. If not, I heard that too late. But, I got to get that shot. So it's crazy because they had on the stairs, the white supremacists had their group with their shields blocking like that entrance to get in. And then on the other side, they brought up like barriers with their signage. So it's like this front line that like these front line that it's like there's no man land is like right in between, which happens to have a lot of cameras in there too.
Wow.
But they have a barricade, and then there's this other barricade, and then people were like, this may sound jokey right now, but people were throwing like water bottles back in, and like people would react. It's not an overreaction, but people would react as if it was like a grenade being thrown because you actually don't know.
Oh wow.
Thrown up there, but like you're like, oh, it's water, but you get hit by an open water bottle.
Who knows, right?
And what's really horrible about that too is that like before this all started, before the whole, I saw a guy, a really awesome sign was like, like hug not war or something like that, and he was also giving away free water.
Really?
So it's almost in a way, it's like, oh, he might have been giving away free water, and now it's being turned into a projectile.
Right.
Which is a strange thing. He just wanted hugs and everyone to be happy, and then
wow,
give free water. But then like being in that front line, it's crazy because it really was like a war line. People would push, and then like the slightest push would set people off. Like I visually saw so much. That's what was strange about this rally, and I don't know if this is how every alt-right rally is or not. I don't go to any of them,
right.
Literally, there was so much assault happening. This is like an ungodly amount of assault happening. That's right. The moment I was like, are there any cops literally gonna stop any of this? Because like it would literally just look like it looked like wall. I don't know if you've been to like a metal show.
Yeah.
And they have this thing called Wall of Death or Wall of Doom, where they have people just go and just destroy each other. But like they're doing that for the sake of music. But in this case, you literally have people with shields being like hitting people. They have their weapons, and then the protesters have their signs and they have their weapons, and they would just go in, and times would happen when it would just be an all out brawl that would happen. And to tell you the truth, that's sort of scary because after about like the fifth time, you realize no one's putting a stop to this. I saw a woman who had a sign that said like Virginia is for lovers, not racist. She was calm in the beginning of beginning of all the festivities, but then later on, I caught her on film saying, "Where are the police? Where are the police?"
Really?
That's the question.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not there doing their job. but like cops have to help. Cops have to help. Like cars when they're broken down and they have a tire that's flat. And then here we're witnessing literally people getting assaulted, and that just felt strange to me. And that to me, it felt like at that moment you're like, if no one's doing anything, something bad can really happen here because you're in a spot where you have now like smoke bombs being thrown, and who knows what's being thrown, and militants and and rebels and renegades and frat boys, and I mean it's a recipe for disaster is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Wait, so to clarify quickly, police presence obviously there. They showed up. They were in lines, but they didn't really take blatant action in the moment, or what was that sort of like?
If they did, I mean, I might have missed it because I was in it. They had to have done something. I did see them at the end. I mean, they were there, and that's what was strange, was you see them like line up against you see them against the walls. They're all around.
I have some video.
I had to go to a lot of them just to like exit. I couldn't go to CVS afterwards because they were blocking the line for CVS. I mean, there were road closures everywhere like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no real answer for you if how much they've done, or like how much they did.
Right.
But maybe more could have been done.
But what you saw, right?
It did clear. I mean, at the end, when it became all unlawful, they did clear. I mean, they got the SWAT team, and
right.
They got their shields. It seemed definitely a day about shields. People had shields that day.
I see a lot in your video. And guys, we've been showing this. I just want to repeat, if you're just joining us on the stream, you're listening to and looking at here Joe Carabeo, live eyewitness, who is down in Charlottesville this weekend for another gig related to rallies and getting footage and video and film footage for a job that he had, got caught in this, and then saw sort of the fallout of this day. And I'm curious, Joe, also, did you see any journalists or other filmmakers get pushed around, or did anybody kind of
got pushed around?
It got violent, and you did. You did.
That. I definitely saw that.
You got shoved a little bit.
That sort of sucked.
Yeah.
That was the point where you're like right in the thick of it. You're getting that shot, and you literally just get shoved from the back.
Really?
And you look at it, and you're like, oh, that's not friendly fire at all.
It's scary.
So, and it is sort of scary because there's certain situations where there's so much like just violence happening around you that the worst thing that you want to have happen is to just get caught in the center of it. And at a moment there, when you first get shoved, you get shoved one way, and then it's like being in like really a mosh pit. This is like a mosh pit of hate.
Yeah.
So you get shoved one way, and then you get shoved back the other way. It doesn't even matter what side you're on. People are gonna start to swing. When people just start swinging, you're like, and I got a camera in both hands. I'm like, I just gotta like,
wow,
out of there. And like, there's that, I wouldn't say that I'm like a war journalist or anything like that. I'm a filmmaker, and that's just how I am. I'm a filmmaker, podcaster, photographer. Like,
right.
But when you're in a, like you're like, oh, I need to go get the shot, and you're like, wait a minute, I have a family. It's like,
right, when you actually have to consider how violent can this get towards me. So I'm curious, was there any point where you were like, I gotta back down from this is too much? And I'm also curious how far into the violence you saw. Were you around for the car swiping through the crowd? Were you around for all that mayhem, or did you already leave the scene?
What's interesting about the car part, and I'll admit that my car the production vehicle was parked on 4th, and
really?
We didn't know, I mean, no one's ever gonna think like someone's gonna plow your car through a crowded bunch of people.
Right.
That to me is actually like the biggest form of like it's like, okay, that's just despicable in my opinion. It's like, okay, you're protected in your car. It's not like you got the protesters, right, and they're at least going face to face with the people, and then, they can see each other's eyes, and they can like spout out their hate stuff. Good for them. At least they're face to face, seeing the people that they hate,
right,
going back and forth. But like from my recollection, or from what I've seen, like the protesters are going the opposite direction. And then to see footage of like, oh, then a car is gonna come and bash them from the back. If that's what I gather, that's sort of like a that's despicable, man. You know, it's you know what I mean. It's like, and you're protected in your car. It's like how much that's just that is the definition of wrong. You know, that I don't see how any good I don't see how any good thought could come from like, oh, this is a good idea. No, it's like this has nothing to do with discussion. It has nothing to do of being face to face with a person that you sort of like, you know, you disagree with. This is a person that's like, you know, I'm here to physically and under my own protection of the car aim to hurt, and I don't agree with that.
Right.
And I you know, any you could try to think of the good that can happen to that, but there's no good. There's nothing good from that plan of action. And what is really horrifying for me is when I saw like his when I saw like the driver, or who it was, and I saw like his headshot, or I guess it was a headshot, and I saw a photo of him in the crowd. What made me feel really, really bad is that first I saw a photo of him, and then I saw a person that was next to him. I remembered that face, the person next to him.
That's right.
I went into my footage. I was like, he was standing right next to him, so I got footage of him. So I looked back, and I actually got footage of him on my phone. And
crazy. Yeah.
So
and
to know that I bared witness, I actually physically have been close to this person, and then I saw this person, and it was captured on my phone. This person who decided that they wanted to drive a car into a group of protesters who were not sheltered in their own car, who were not inside protected, who were using words.
Yeah.
It sort of feels like I don't know. It felt wrong for me to even have footage of him.
Yeah. So quickly to recap for some of our viewers, Joe is talking about the suspect, James Fields Jr., who was actually arraigned in court today, this morning around 10 a.m. in Charlottesville. We had that on our morning show, guys. He is going to stay in jail and then be up for his bond hearing on August 25th. And Joe actually caught a still shot, or I believe you got some video, but you kind of screenshotted a still shot from it of James before he did the attack.
Yeah, he was actually the first from the beginning. During he was in that front line.
Yeah.
He was one of the first people to arrive. You know, who knows? We didn't know we were gonna do that, or we didn't know he was gonna do that.
Yeah.
No one knows. But that's the scary situation, is that in a way you have a crowd of just one person that can take that, then you have a rally of it's a hard thing to sort of swallow. That's what made it really a volatile, hostile situation of the ideals of when you put a group like this together.
Right. Now, how far away were you from the car plowing into the crowd and then causing that chain reaction? Were you kind of already vacating the scene, or were you down there?
That's the thing, is that took place a certain amount of time after the whole area was clear.
Okay.
So, you know, we've already made the rounds. We've already tried to film as much as possible. So that was super surprising.
You found out on your way back then, or
we found out definitely on our way back. I'm gonna switch positions because my leg is small. But yeah, like that was like to leave Charlottesville and be like, oh, so that's it. Nothing else bad can happen. That happens. It was sort of
the big event of the day. And guys, I wish I could. I don't have another source for video for internet to show you that still shot. But like I said, Joe captured this still shot of James Fields Jr. in formation in a line with his shield or whatever it was. I saw it earlier on my phone, but trying to bring you all the sources.
You want me to?
Yeah, if you want to hold it up, throw it up on Skype. So Joe's joining us from Skype from Virginia, right, Joe? Where are you now?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Virginia.
In Lorton, or where are you?
In a non-disclosed.
Non-disclosed. Okay. So Joe, if you guys are just joining us, a local DMV photographer, filmmaker, podcaster, and he's been involved in a lot of the scene here: photography, film, documentaries, arts. And he happened to be down there for, to work on Saturday. Like he mentioned, he was there on the early side. So when a lot of the kind of protests and rallies sparked
Would you like to
and
throw it up?
started. Yeah, do you have a shot? You want to hold it up to the camera? See if it works. There we go. Yeah, crazy. I guess you can kind of see it.
What an ironic image right there.
That you got it before.
Well, just the sake of like also then you have this cop
Yeah.
protecting him. He
Right.
has to do his job. You know, a cop. I'm not saying cops are bad. When cops do their job, they're amazing. You know, so, but that image to be like that sort of sucks, doesn't it?
It's definitely a powerful, quite potent image to see him prior to the attack, essentially, and being protected by police who you said were there in full presence, but obviously were there to kind of keep the scene tame, I guess, until things erupted more criminally.
I don't know. You know, they follow orders.
Yeah.
So what?
Right.
What the order is, you know, it has to come from someplace. So.
Yeah, and
I really just was just wishing for more type of order. That's really what it was, but I don't really know what else you're supposed to ask for. When you see people get hurt, when I literally have a camera and I'm seeing people carry people out of the crowd yelling medic, sort of like as in a war zone, you're sort of like you know what well, I mean, I guess it did get declared unlawful, so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are you supposed to do? This is, I guess this is what represents that time. And I was in the middle of that. I mean, getting hit with tear gas.
Right.
Like the thing is, though, I don't know where this tear gas was coming from.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because actually, right now the video that's scrolling through, we're seeing some people spray some stuff. I see a couple of people bending over and choking. There were moments that you can see that people are affected by something that was sprayed, and I'm curious if it came from protesters or on which side, or police. But I don't think it was police, at least not in your purview. You couldn't really tell.
I did see people. I did see both sides have. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's the thing is like when people come armed.
Right.
When you have both sides that are already bringing their own armor, it gets sort of difficult to tell what is who is what. It's like, do I have to keep looking up to see a flag? Like, it's like I can't.
Right.
The time where you're just like, oh, okay, that's
this side.
Yeah, I did. Sometimes I even saw people like accidentally hitting their own.
Really.
Get caught in the crossfire, and people had to stop them. So I'm happy they fixed that.
That's amazing.
I just want to say one of the things that it's really tough for people to get good range when you see like stills, or when you see footage, just footage of the crowds of the rally itself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's half of it is a disservice because you need to hear it. You need to hear. The real way to understand the amount of hate and animosity that was there is you had to hear these people talk. I'm assuming I'm not allowed to curse.
You know, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that for now. We are YouTube and we're digital, but
Yeah,
you heard a lot of cursing, is what you're saying.
And these are like unified chants. These are like it's. I mean, like the F word was a favorite chant word that day. Like F you Nazis. Then the response is F you. You know, gay derogatory name.
Right.
It's like now we're trying to one up each other in doing that. It's like there was just so much hate on both sides.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
It's funny, but in the beginning there was a love line. You know, there was a line of love before the protesting. But then I mean, when you have hate groups, I guess fight fire with fire, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I was reading during it all, and as the tweet storm sort of came, I was reading about how there were other groups kind of spouting hate to the LGBTQ community and other groups, right? And it sounds like you heard some anti-gay remarks as well.
Oh, I mean, not just remarks.
Yeah, like chants.
Walking through the crowd by itself, just hearing people's off remarks is amazing. Like it's that. It didn't. I don't know. It felt like I mean, all the things that you're not supposed to say now.
Mhm.
Now people are saying it. You know what I mean? Uh, it's a crazy it was a crazy situation of, wow, this is all the bad stuff you've ever heard in
Mhm.
one spot, like just being said loud.
It's
Really,
amazing. Yeah, I don't know what like I said, putting myself in your shoes, what I would feel from that and how I would emotionally react to that, having not, thankfully, of course, been brought up in that environment, not used to seeing so much hate like that. But for you to literally be in the center of hate on both sides and hate for a lot of different groups of society is just wowing. It's really hard for me to picture, actually. And guys, I apologize. I continue with this same scrolling video here. I clipped together about four or five of. I'm showing a few that were my favorite, Joe. I'm telling you, I was scrambling in the moment to kind of pick out the best video that you were sending over, and I wanted to send it over fast. So I, strung a few together and picked out my favorites, sent them over, and now I have these, in my folder here to use. So I'm kind of repeating them, but they're really great. They're really down in the action, very compelling footage. Did you get affected by any of that tear gas or anything? Did anything physically affect you?
Yeah, I got affected by the tear gas or the mace.
Oh yeah.
At least 3 times.
Really?
That's not fun.
Right, I bet.
I sort of need my eyes to look at the camera and film stuff.
Right.
There was a weird situation, and there's a photo I have of a girl throwing a smoke bomb back out into the opposite side of the crowd.
Okay.
And that to me was a mentally challenging situation because one, a projectile's coming right at you, so you do the normal thing and you run, and then once you see it hit, I guess the normal thing is to keep running, but part of me was like, no, I got to run back into it because I need to get the shot.
And that's like a true journalist filmmaker too. Like I understand that too. Like I'm always chasing stuff as well because that's your natural reaction to get it. But so did you feel like you were under, the influence of whatever mace or tear gas and still found yourself like running half blind into it?
There was a time where I couldn't, because I was in the front line one time and literally just like, I think it might have been from the white supremacist side, from the stairway, where it was just a full blast of just whatever spray just like coated the front line.
Oh my goodness!
And that just sort of like it sticks, like you wouldn't, it sticks in the air and you're just covered in it. And so at that point, even though I was wearing glasses, like all that stuff gets into your nose and you start hacking away. So at that moment, I had to run. I ran down the opposite side of the street because I had to clean the lenses and my lenses, and I got to stop hacking my guts out. And then when I look around, when I look around, oh cool, I'm surrounded by more white supremacists.
Really?
They were getting ready to do their march up there, and then I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Let me just get my camera going. And it's like, I guess the press everyone had cameras. You know what I mean? So, but once that was done and my eyes were tear shot, just go right back in.
I don't know what that feels like because they say whenever you carry mace or like police do it, if you carry it, you should kind of know what it feels like. I used to carry it myself just as a woman, and I know it's prevalent. You can get it mailed to you and everything. It's like fine, but I'm still so curious as to which sides had it because that's a pretty powerful weapon, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty powerful weapon. I don't know who originated it.
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many people. I'd like to reiterate that there are a lot of protesters, not just over majority people with cameras. So there's a lot. And another thing that I thought was hilarious is this type of visual. It is one anti-Nazi is yelling at the Nazi, and they're both yelling, "F this, your mother this, oh, you can't suck that." And what's hilarious is that while they're yelling at each other, they both have their phones pointed at the opposite person.
Like for recording or like?
Yeah, they're recording each other while they're in and this is not even like they're probably like 5 feet away from each other, and they still have their phones up, yelling at each other the most hateful, vile things you never say to a human. And the fact that like, oh, we're gonna take this moment, like I did, to have my phone out and record all this too.
So it was almost like a show, like a showmanship type thing, like who could show up or show each other up, or
It just feels like that's just the way the times are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm yelling at each other, but it has to get recorded. I got to post it later.
Yeah, you're right.
Sort of like,
That's crazy. We know this from society now. We're in that world. You and I both, not only just being in film and TV and film and video and journalism, but being of our age frame, right? We're in a generation where we do want to record and post and sort of have like a litany of stuff in our social media platforms and presence.
Yeah.
That this sort of hatred and violence became that also is like, I don't even know if I should like roll my eyes at that or just be like dumbfounded. It's like, it's kind of weird.
Well, to me, it became almost like, when I saw that, I was like, am I supposed to take all this serious now? Because are we all just trying to get hits? You know what I mean? It's like, it's like literally I saw, like I literally I'll see someone who is being filmed by, I don't know who they're being filmed by, but it was, a younger kid spurring out like statistics of why, white supremacy is right or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, throw up gang signs and say, follow me on Twitter. It's like, that's what it is. It's like, how do we even, how do we even take that serious?
Right. I agree.
How do you take any of this? It's serious. It's definitely a serious situation that, what are even like the motives of anything at this point? Is this all just like, we need attention? Is that what it comes to? But it is really strange.
Yeah.
Just like a heavily armored up.
Yeah.
Nazi dude, straight from like the late '80s like movies.
Right.
And he has a red iPhone in his hand.
Really.
Ready to do that. But yeah, I was definitely in the middle of that. I wouldn't say that like, I'm not in the middle of it, like, I wasn't there like battling is what I'm saying.
Right.
I was in it, and then I was out in the safe distance because there became certain points where like whoever was going to march, whenever someone would march, it was just gonna break down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unsafe. It's sort of like that's the thing. That's my job. Is I got to go and capture that as best as I could. Another for me, what I felt like was probably the most scariest situation.
Yeah, tell us.
Is that when when everything was already declared like unlawful, right? When people were already, when people at the rally, the Nazis, the supremacists, all those groups were already walking away.
Walking away meaning it was done, or was
when the cops are on their blowhorn saying this
needs to break up
and deemed unlawful. If you do not vacate the premises right now, you will be arrested on the spot.
Okay.
So while that's happening, you still have a whole bunch of people on the field in front of the statue, right? And while the rally was happening, was surrounded by like gates, like a guardrail, so no one else can come in, right? So a large group of protesters were now, when this was all ending, a large group of the protesters and the people in the rally were now yelling at each other from across. Not that they weren't before, but now a lot of them were yelling at each other from across this. There's like maybe like a 7-foot like gap between the guardrail, and there's another guardrail that divided everybody.
Really?
Now they're all yelling at each other, right? And then the one side backs away, and then I'm like, okay, this seems safe. I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna go in between and start filming because I need to get those shots. Start filming from both sides of them like hating each other, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the guardrail falls.
Really?
Nothing dividing them. So what's insane is like I literally felt like there's like now on this mainland there's like this showdown that's literally closely about to like happen.
Yeah.
Literally like now the majority of them are about to like collide, and it's pretty insane to see that you have a person like waving one flag and the other person waving another flag, and then just knowing that like someone's gonna grab that flag from the other side, it's gonna get torn and turned into
a weapon.
That's literally what happened. I literally see one person grab like the Nazi flag, and a bunch of Nazis will go and chase him through the crowd. All of a sudden, someone's chasing it, and now all of a sudden they're on the other side, the protected guardrail, and they're all just battling over the flag and they're just hitting each other.
Wow.
And at that point, we are right next to cops.
Yeah. And what'd they do? They knew it was unlawful at that point.
I mean, it was, but like they weren't. All this stuff was still happening, And it was, I wish they did more, but I'm there, I'm seeing blood, I'm seeing people get hit in their head,
Really?
and fighting over this flag. I actually turned away because I was like, I can't,
It
I
was
don't want to know
hard.
what happened with this. So
Yeah.
literally, I'm up at this field, and you have, I saw like a protester, like a girl, like a little, like a girl. She had her armor on, but she wasn't no tall girl at all. Go in like, now she's getting in the face of these other of like everyone who's spitting out hate. You see all shapes and sizes,
Mm-hmm.
and you see all types of races like standing up for themselves. But that was a scary situation. Like that to me was probably the most scariest situation because I didn't know what was going to happen. When you see like a wall, like a guardrail that was
When it fell. Yeah.
That was that moment where you start thinking like it doesn't matter if this is declared unlawful. Like, this has the potential to literally just be a battlefield right now.
Absolutely.
And I don't want that to happen.
Right. It became no holds barred, and people just took stuff as weaponry. So tell me, did you see a lot of? Was it actual like neo-Nazi swastika type flags, or was it Confederate flags, or what was it?
Yep, both of those.
Both.
And a lot of other flags. There's a lot of flags. There's a lot of logos.
Symbols.
There's a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to break in for a second and tell you we have a couple of other comments on the feed. Terrence saying this is very rare stuff. I think commenting on your video that we put together, and he's glad you're okay. And just a few comments to that extent. But I've been showing this video, like I said, over and over, but a few of them strung together. Joe took a lot of great video that day. And if you guys are just joining us, just to recap, Joe Carabeo here, filmmaker, photographer, joining us from Virginia. And he's a DMV, local resident, works in the film video industry, was down in Charlottesville on that Saturday. I remember seeing that alert, sort of seeing some of his social media that he was down there. We got connected, and I wanted to make sure we got his eyewitness account to you guys. But really, really fascinating, very scary stuff. And I want to know, Joe, how did you ultimately leave? Did you say sort of there was a breaking point where it did sort of die down? You were able to kind of get back to your car and peace out? Or like, how did that all? Yeah.
There was definitely a moment. I mean, like, there was definitely a moment where me and my producer and the other camera operator, we stood. I mean, there's a point where also like the police are, you can't be here or you'll be arrested. So we left that part. But there was when we stood in the streets, we're like, I guess that's it. It's like you're like, I guess that's done. There wasn't really, I didn't really have a feeling, like at least in that area. I mean, so we felt like we were free enough to go and it was a hot ass day at that time,
right?
And go and CVS and get some drinks and walk back to our car and get out of there, and that's why it was still so surprising that they're still in the area. You know what I mean? If they're still in the area, there's a potential. And I have friends that were in that, not in that crowd that got hit, but they were in the general area. I saw them. They had it like on their Instagram stories,
mm-hmm.
like that, and like just thinking that like that happened, like even after the fact, sort of really disappointing that people have those type of thoughts that like they think that's a good idea at all, just to like ram a car into a group of people.
Yeah, and Joe is, of course, guys, if you're watching, referencing the car that plowed into a crowd, causing a chain reaction with a couple other cars, causing then the death of 32-year-old Heather Heyer. Guys, which our prayers obviously go out to her and her family,
yeah.
But very scary, the death that was involved. And
that was no soft car. That's not like
the Dodge Charger, right?
That's a freaking muscle car right there.
Yeah.
That's something where you want to burn up the streets with that type of car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, funny. I know.
It's not like when a car where like I don't know what's it's not like a bug. I don't know what it's
right, like a softer anything. I remember reading that, and I'd gotten in an Uber that was a Dodge Charger once, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, like this is so industrial and like intense, and like you said, very hard, very on the surface it looks that way, and it kind of is physically that way.
It is.
Yeah,
that is a pretty devastating type of car. Like literally, even if it was just like you wouldn't want to get hit by that car on a normal on a normal day. It's not like that's not a car where you're like, oh cool, I can just roll off the front of it, I'll be fine. No, that's a car that's meant to be that's meant to pick up speed and just like, you know, go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I couldn't really even bring myself to see or to watch a lot of the actual footage that some people got really, I think, got lucky in some of their video shots, or they were right there and you could see the slow-mo of bodies kind of flying.
Or not lucky. That's
true.
These are images that like will stay with you.
True.
And that's
not
the thing,
not
like,
lucky as in it's a good thing, but you're right. Like getting it.
It's like, oh, cool, we got this footage, but it's like now I can't erase that footage from my head.
Right. And I did see a couple of those still shots, and I sort of was obviously curious, like what exactly happened, who rammed into whom, and how did it all happen. But I couldn't really bring myself to watch like the drone footage and some of the other stuff that was coming out. But apparently the car actually rammed into obviously a crowd, and then another car, and then I think it hit another car, and that caused a lot of the injuries, and then of course the one death there on the streets.
So pretty much it was a sandwich effect. So that itself is violent. That's equivalent to like if you were to run into a person who's just next to a wall.
Right.
You know? So a car or another car, either way, because if you're about to, like, we make movies, so we try to figure out how it is when people get hit by a car.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, if you get hit by a car and you can like, oh, I can at least roll over the top of it. That will at least cause less damage. But like that's like crash test dummy. I'm gonna run it into a wall with people in between. So
that is just terrifying. And guys, I just want to address, if you guys are just joining us on the stream, or you're here maybe for the first time, or maybe you're an old regular, join with us on our chat. You are looking at right here in the upper left corner, Joe Carabeo, local filmmaker, photographer, who's joining us for a nice, long, great guest chat here on our digital show in the digital newsroom at Fox 5 DC. Just to kind of give an eyewitness account, recap, kind of chat it out about what happened on that scary day on Saturday, and all following sort of the nighttime marching with tiki torches that we saw the footage of some of those groups, the white supremacist groups and white nationalists, neo-Nazis, march on that Friday, and then things kind of escalated into Saturday, and we saw what we've been bringing you here on this stream. But a lot of really interesting details from Joe. So thank you so much, Joe, for providing all this stuff. So ultimately you get out, you see, tell me really quickly the extent of the violence. You saw some people bloodied up, you said?
Yeah, I saw lots of people bloodied up.
Yeah.
I saw lots of people getting carried away, like if it was a war zone, and yelling medic. I saw a lot of that. I saw like older people getting hit, like direct hits, just going down hard. I saw like even, like it was violent.
Mm-hmm.
It was a violent area. It was definitely not a peaceful area to be in. And I mean, that's what are you really expecting here? I mean, it's it's hard to sort of sugarcoat what type of there's no way to be like, oh yeah, if you get a bunch of hate groups and then people who hate the hate groups, and then you just get it's like I'd like to think that like the singing and dancing is, well, not dancing, but the singing is gonna like calm these people or calm everyone down.
Yeah.
But there was definitely that. There was peaceful protests that was definitely there, and they were very apparent, like they were there. They were against the guardrail, and they were singing great peaceful songs. There was a whole line in front of the rally that were one by one doing a prayer, one by one as they go down the line.
And they were putting themselves sort of in harm's way anyway. They were right up there with them.
Yeah, they were right up there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't. There's a street level. Like the rally is it was up. You had to go upstairs. They're down at street level, but you're not allowed. I mean, there's only certain places you can sort of be. You're not allowed like in the gated area.
Mm-hmm.
But they were down there, and they were singing. So you hear this peaceful singing, and then you go up, you hear hateful talk. Like talking back.
Right.
Or like saying, well, I'm, chants of like love has already won, responded with like, it's being responded with like, well, my guns don't say so.
Wow.
Or chants of like, you will not replace us with.
Right.
You will be replaced. It's just like this. It's just
back
like,
and forth.
are so clever. They were able to on the spot counter each other's chance of hate. It really became a very hateful environment to be in. Like, I mean, I'm not. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was people. I mean, there are people that were like nice, that were protesting nicely, but then there's the front line, and there comes a point where you just know that, like, any moment this stuff can just break down, and you're in it, and you just hope just to not get caught in this hurricane of hate.
Definitely a day that you won't soon forget, I'm sure.
I mean, you'd like to, but you won't. You'd like to forget it. You'd like to. You have a family, and you just sort of wish that this was not happening in this world. That's really what it is. It's like you go and you watch, Captain America or Indiana Jones, and they're like Nazis and stuff like that, and then you realize, oh, there's no Indiana Jones, there's no Captain America right now, but for some reason there's Nazis, and I thought we fought that. I thought we had a whole bunch of wars against that, but it's here.
Absolutely.
It sort of makes you think, like, what is going on? I don't have any answers for that, but it sort of makes you feel like, we should be doing a better job at this, because I feel like they just promote hate. I feel like if one promotes hate, that it's just like this domino effect. If no one's telling you hate's wrong, I don't have any answers. I don't really have any real answers, but I just feel like at that moment, when I was there filming this with my phone or filming this with my camera, I just literally in my own circle, I did not shed a tear, but I felt like I was about to shed a tear, but I was just like, dude, what the hell, man?
Right.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
Isn't
are we
it
like
crazy?
Are we just in a planet that only fires weapons at each other? What the hell is that?
It's wild. And obviously we've been following sort of the fallout from it, the coverage of, what our leaders said, our world leaders said from it. And it's just wild to kind of see, how it's addressed one way and then it falls under this legal definition another way. It's just, the fact of the matter is it was it was very violent, and it was two showings of hate, and it was really horrible and scary to see the fact that we live in that, and that we have that racism and bigotry and white supremacy that has really reared its ugly head in full force as of late. It's really, really hard to see it's so divided.
I personally, in this day and age, I would rather have to worry about, like, oh, internet trolls, or, oh man, like, I'd rather have to worry about the most trivial things than to realize, oh, there's actual groups out there who are bred just to hate. I'd like, when you come to think about that, you're like, why are we gotta deal with this, man? This is not the stuff that needs to happen. It's sort of just like, why can't we just live life? But this is the world we live in. So hopefully people can see, like, that, this is probably not the way we should be handling things. But what is the answer? What is the answer to all this? But it was definitely, I was definitely in the center of that. Then I quickly got out of it. Then I had to quickly run back in. Then I got pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
I got in the distance of that, and I ran out, wiped my eyes, and here comes a smoke bomb.
Oh my gosh.
Above me. Didn't really think I was going to be expecting that when I got called to do this job.
Right.
Thursday night.
My goodness. I saw one other thing. I saw obviously a lot of memes and like stuff, social media stuff has come out of this. And actually a friend of mine posted this really, really relevant one that espouses this message of how we can make a difference as a person. It's sort of like this cartoon, right? It's sort of like up your alley actually as an artist. And it's a cartoon basically saying like, oh man, there's so much hate going on in the world. I would love to help, but I'm only one person. And then it's like a duck and she's like cradling her ducklings and she's like, but I have children and I can teach them love and kindness. And that's something that, will speak volumes for the rest of their lives. So it was interesting to kind of see how mothers and obviously even, people without families, but taking that example of being like, how can I be one person and make a difference? Well, I can teach, the young ones that this isn't and shouldn't be the world that we live in. So that was interesting.
Yeah, what's really important about that is like me personally, all those ideals of hate and just the maybe what that's based off of. I'm starting to think that's sort of like just old way of thinking because we live in a world where we have better ideas, better technology, better ways of thinking, and we got to regulate ourselves to such like like a like a such an old school ideal of I don't know trying to work. There's better ways. I personally don't have the answer, but the only answer I have is to just the way I act, and so hopefully the answer is just to like just to not be like that. I'll try. I'll try. It's. I feel like it's actually tough. It's tough. There's a lot of pushing happening out in this world, whether it's digital or in person. People have to be strong and do what's right, not just for themselves, but for the realm, for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I know that's sort of like a soft answer, but
No.
It's the way we live. Maybe it's that easy to be like, just don't hate. I don't know. I don't know how. It's like just how about just don't be violent? How about just don't kill people? How about that? how about just stop wanting to kill people and hurt them? It's hard. It's really stupid. It sounds dumb to just say that, but maybe just stop doing that.
Yeah. Now, you're totally right on that. Now, also related to this day, so we saw the 32-year-old Heather, she was the one, later was revealed that she was the one that was deceased in that violent incident, but also two Virginia State troopers who were in that helicopter. Now, was that also way after you had gone? I'm guessing, because that was later in the day.
I saw that helicopter up in the air, like the whole
Really?
Yeah. I mean, unless there was another helicopter.
Unless there was another, I don't know.
There was definitely a helicopter that was hovering over the whole entire. I saw one drone.
Yeah.
And then I saw a helicopter.
Wow. I wonder if that was it. I don't know.
I got footage of the helicopter. I filmed the helicopter. It might have been on the live stream, or I think I have it still on my phone as well.
Interesting.
I don't know what I don't know why it crashed.
Yeah. So just to update you guys, if you're watching, and to update Joe too, the NTSB and the FAA are still working together with Virginia State Police to investigate that whole thing. So we don't have a lot of answers on that. And I was curious too, like how related was it? Obviously, they were state troopers there to help with the violence, but the cause is still unknown. So as soon as we get new reports on that or any press conference, we're gonna bring that to you guys live.
That seems really strange.
It does. It does.
It does seem strange because it's not like we're in a hilly area. I'm hoping. I really have no answer towards why that helicopter crashed. But I did see that helicopter several times. You could hear the helicopter several times. It was, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of yelling and noising, but like I heard the helicopter. We all heard the helicopter, so it was very visible for everyone who was on the ground.
Wow, pretty amazing. So, I'm reading. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know why it crashed.
Right, I mean, they're still working on it.
Yeah, there's no lightning. It was sunny in the air.
Yeah, it's odd. I really am curious to find out more. That's the one I'm really keeping my eye on. Apparently, the troopers who were involved in that were assisting other crews on the ground from the helicopter with the whole unrest of the white nationalist rally, and then it went down.
Big crash, though.
Crash to down. Exactly. So they were sort of like doing stuff with the people on the ground, and then the chopper went down. So that's all we know. And they have a lot of units on this investigation currently. So that's what I've been reading about. Yeah, I don't know, not much there, but I was curious as to where you were, but you were already long gone. I think it was you and your other friend, your other photographer guy, or
my crew member. Yeah, we were already done. I mean, at that point, I think we vacated probably around like 12:30. I'm a little soft towards what the number was.
Right.
It was definitely like because. From what we were told, I was told that this is probably going to happen, that I was going to get out of there by 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So I was expecting to still be filming around 4 o'clock because we were supposed to be filming all the speakers that were happening. We were supposed to capture, document all that stuff, both sides of all that. And, it became unlawful before around noontime, around the newish, I can't quote me on what the exact number was, but around that, I assume. It's tough to tell time.
Right.
It was real tough to tell time.
And by being unlawful, you mean police coming out and being like, "Hey guys, this is everything you're doing is illegal. You're going to be arrested on the spot if you continue," basically.
Yeah, that's what I was. I mean, I'm not a perfect law person, but like when I saw that lady that was chanting "Where are the police?" Someone actually in my footage, you can see it. I mean, it's not in my footage, but the film footage I was filming, person walks up to him, or she's like, "Where are the police? Where are the police?" Someone walks up to that lady, and she's like, "It's already been declared unlawful." And she's like, "Really?"
She didn't
So
even
then,
know.
yeah, who would know? Who like there's I don't know. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know what type of order was being stated there. I really
Yeah.
don't. But it really is just like you're just. It's almost like you're just these people are just gonna clash. They're just gonna, and I mean, me being trying to be as neutral as I possibly can be, you know, and that's a part of the job. You gotta document all that stuff. It's tough. But.
Yeah, and tell me, so part of this job too, do you have any other need to be in Charlottesville for this gig later on? Are you going to go back at all, or?
No, this was it.
That was just a one-time rally.
Literally, it was like there's gonna be a supremacist rally. Let's document it.
Yeah.
that was it. We didn't know what it was, but it was from what I was told. You know, that's. But I have a feeling, you know, the show being what it is, and the situation being what it is, I feel like the whole world sort of knew that, you know, something's gonna go down, man. If this was, from what we were told, it was supposed to be the largest gathering of white supremacists and alt-right neo-Nazis. I mean, you're gonna have problems.
Right.
You're gonna have problems. I mean, that's why all those cops are supposed to be there.
Yeah. And we could see it, you know, too, from this, like I said, from this footage that we've been showing you guys.
Oh, there's another interesting part.
Yeah.
Is during, you know, because you have that militia there at the front.
Yeah.
But the protesters would have actually thought that they were supposed to be protecting, like, holding the order, so to speak. And I guess that's what the job was, to hold order. But they weren't police. You know what I mean? But, like, and people thought that they were police. Sorry, people thought that they were police.
But they weren't. They were dressed up, kind of like it, or
dressed up like, you know, like a militia. But from what I was told, they were there to protect for the white supremacy, to protect for the alt-right. So when things were going down, and that militia was just standing there, people would yell at them, saying, "Why don't you do anything? Why aren't you doing anything to help?" Not realizing that, like, I don't think they were there to help them, so to speak. You know, they're there to hold, you know, the order that they're there to hold.
Wow.
So there might have been a little confusion there when you have these guys, military guys that have heavy firepower on them, with, you know, with rifles around them. But people would assume that they're to protect the, you know, I guess they're there to protect the peace. I did see them separate a lot of people. But there was that part where people didn't know whose side they were on or what they were doing, so that could have been confusing for people too.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's amazing, guys. If you're just joining us, just want to let you know, welcome you to the show. We're getting a great eyewitness account from Joe Carabeo here, who was down there in downtown Charlottesville getting this footage that you've been seeing me kind of scroll through, and there was a lot even more where that came from, but these were some of the best bits that I picked together to show you guys as he was down there on Saturday as everything erupted. And it was, like you said, Joe, it was a one-time gig that you were, you know, kind of down there to get some footage for it, and then there was mayhem, and it became national news, and you were right there. So a lot of really interesting thoughts, I think, that you have about this. Obviously, sort of the emotional state, the emotional toll it takes, having been around that, must be just really surreal. It's hard for me to kind of understand it, but I'm trying to. So
it's the only way I can define it is that it was the most negative area, the most negative mental space I've ever been surrounded by.
Mm-hmm.
There was just so much hate being spewed. There's such a hurricane of hate that you really, like, you didn't even know that this could actually, like, exist in this day and age, but it's definitely there.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, you just sort of wish, you know, take care of your families and treat them right. You know, it's definitely out there, and this was This was that moment where you look around, you're like, wow, and this is supposed to be the largest gathering of them, and it's just hate. There's just a lot. There's you know I don't want there to be hate in this world. You know, maybe dislike, it's fine, but not hate. Because I can dislike strawberry ice cream, but people can still have it. It's not hurting anybody. You know, maybe people who are lactose intolerant, but I don't know.
What a comparison here. Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's really amazing. I do hope, you know, things, we always say this, but we hope some type of change comes from this incident and that we don't see it again. But, you know, I also wonder how it's going to affect the town of Charlottesville. We were there, our reporter was down there today to kind of cycle through the arraignment of James Fields Jr., and he said it was pretty calm, actually. There wasn't a big police presence, and it was a pretty calm state, lots of flowers and stuff on the vigil kind of area where the car crash happened, where the incident happened, and it was much more peaceful. So that was sort of the state of affairs down there.
Yeah, I saw a non-peaceful press conference this morning of I forget the name of the guy, but the guy who had the permit to do the rally.
Oh.
He did a little conference, and that blew up fast.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Oh man, police had to escort him out.
Was it in Charlottesville or in DC?
I think it was in Charlottesville. He had a press conference. I forget his name. I was just watching it, but I didn't retain his name.
Yeah.
But once he started speaking, protesters went right in his face, saying, you know, talking about the murder, and then just getting hostile. I mean, it's a passion hostile. I mean, yeah. the guy who got he's the man that let the rally happen. So, of course, if there was no rally, maybe these people wouldn't be injured.
Yeah.
Alive, you know. So.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up.
Permit happened.
Mm-hmm. I was going to bring up the point. One of the rally organizers for Unite the Right, the alt-right group, is Jason Kessler. He was slated to do a press conference yesterday in front of City Hall, and it sort of he got escorted by police, so it didn't actually happen. So today he was slated, or is still, I'm actually not quite sure if it's happened yet, to do some sort of engagement, some sort of speech in DC. So I know we have a reporter following that story in case that does happen today, and I'd be curious to see if we got that on live video for this stream, but I haven't seen it happen yet.
If you get him being escorted out by the police because of the protesters,
yeah,
you should watch.
You've seen, yeah. So that's compelling footage. Yeah, I actually haven't watched it yet myself, but it definitely happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, just that came to mind when you were saying one of the organizers, but yeah, it's pretty amazing, Joe. Thank you so much for this eyewitness account. I just want to also tell our viewers, where can people kind of follow your stuff? Your handle is @AstrayJ.
Yeah, @AstrayJ, ASTRAYJ. That's my Instagram and also my Twitter. I posted images from what I see, but there's almost comes a point where it's just like how many more of these does the people want to see?
Yeah,
you know
totally.
That's so important. Am I feeding the fire of all this? So hopefully I can take some sort of responsibility to put out a better message.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we're still sort of scrolling through this video. There's some militia police lined up there that we've been showing you throughout the afternoon, really, in this interview. But really good, comprehensive account, Joe. Thank you so much for all those details and your feelings on it, and just stuff to hear from someone who can express it verbally and who was there, like in the front line, is just crazy.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. You're my favorite newswoman besides my.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, no, thank you so much. Lots of help, and guys, I hope you enjoyed this coverage and this stream. Just a special guest to add to our show today. We're gonna take you back. Let's do a live shot of the Capitol Dome here, guys, while we switch some sources and see what's coming up next. I'll be back with you guys in just a second. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us on the stream. I hope that you've enjoyed our stream so far, just kind of bringing you the live events and breaking news of the day. We're going to go over now to something that's just coming down on our sources, a press conference happening in Milwaukee right now regarding the shooting at a Wisconsin track yesterday that left multiple people dead. It was a fatal shooting that people are saying may have been gang-related. Some updates on that right now. Looks like it's coming in here. Let's listen in to the officials in Milwaukee.
This was the spot that it occurred. I think we would actually need to talk to probably, I'm sure the suspect would know, and I don't know if this is retaliation. I don't know if this is a family trouble. I really don't know. The only thing I'm very positive of is the 3 people who are dead are involved with a gang in Illinois. Well, gangs have always been in the rural areas. A lot of people from Illinois will bring up family members that are gang members, and they'll put them in to places like Kenosha. And what they want to do is to get them out of the gangs, to get them out of that environment. So our high schools have people from outside of Kenosha County that come here trying to get rid of that. So gangs are here. I don't know. I don't think that the intent of anyone here, at least the suspects or the event that happened yesterday, I don't believe that it was a gang-related type thing. I don't. I wish I knew more about exactly why they were shot here, why this place was chosen.
What kind of weapons were used? Do you know?
I think it was a pistol. I'm not exactly sure of the caliber, exactly what happened, but everything I'm being told, it sounds like it was some kind of a handgun. The weapon that was used is not in our possession. Nope.
From past incidents, you kind of commented on crime from the Chicago area coming up into Kenosha County, and you expressed frustration over that. Is this a similar situation where you're frustrated over this kind of creeping up into your county?
No, absolutely. Not only just moving up here, but we have a lot of activities. We have a lot of things to offer the community and to the people. The Great Lakes Drag Strip is a venue that allows. The whole goal of this was to get a certain group of people from Illinois and Chicago to come up here, race, have fun. When I came here, there were a lot of families. There were people of all ages, and it looked, at least in the attempt was to give people that don't normally come here a chance to come and have some fun. There were a lot of barbecues set up. There were campers set up. There were people leaving that had children, and so that part, I commend everybody for trying to give, attract people for having fun family events, and that's what I think the attempt was. There are people that are cooperative. We have several people. We have several statements. The clothing description I know we've had a couple different ideas of what the shirt would look like. One was a white T-shirt. Initially last night I was told a black hoodie. I've been informed it was a blue T-shirt with gray sleeves. Everyone has basically described the haircut as being the same, and the rough description of the suspect being the same. So. Yeah, that we haven't. Yeah, he's not a suspect.
Video or even cell phone video from people here?
There are still things coming in. As far as the surveillance video, I'm not able to speak on that right now. But if anyone out there still has video of the scene or have video of the car or anything like that, I know that there's people out there that know the suspect. I know that there are. It's probably. A lot of times these people will videotape it and they'll put it out there on Facebook to show what they've done. And I don't know that happened in this case. I've not seen it. It's not been forwarded to us. But if anyone has any information, we'd love to have it. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure that several dozen people saw the suspect and a few witnesses came forward and said they saw what they believed to be the suspect running through the crowd extremely fast. And that's how we got one of our description. The only video that I have seen so far is probably the same one that you guys have seen, and it shows somebody underneath that tent that was right there, and it shows the aftermath. It shows the bodies. It shows a napkin being placed on the face of one of them.
I just want to quickly let you guys know what you're watching here because I'm having an issue with the lower third on the screen to kind of describe the scene. But right now, this is live. Officials are updating on this shooting at a southeast Wisconsin track. Yesterday, it left 3 men shot at point-blank range, guys, during this auto racing event. They're still looking for suspects in this killing, so he's giving an update on that. All right, guys, stay with us. We'll come back into the newsroom after this one is over.
I have no idea. If we had a better idea who the suspect was, I might be able to answer that question. But at this point, I don't know who the suspect was or his motivation. It appears that he walked up to the 3 that are now dead, and basically just shot them point blank. So he knew what his targets were. He shot 2 of them. The third one ran around to the side of the tent. He shot him, and then he came back up and fired a few more shots into the 2 that were laying there. So there were multiple shots here, and he had enough time and enough arrogance to go back up and actually make sure that they were dead. I don't know that part. I didn't hear you. At this point, I can't answer that.
How about the owner? Has he been cooperative?
Yes. Yep, the owner and the staff here has been cooperative. Been no issues with that.
What did your family say? Did they want dog?
I know that one of the people, we had trouble even identifying them. I know they just came here and one person said, I'm the father of this person. Wouldn't give any identification. I know when he was asked the birthday of supposedly his son, didn't even want to give the birthday. So I know he had a few demands and our department said no. And then they left. At this point, I can't answer that question.
Can you tell us what your circumstances indicate this was a gang-involved shooting? Or can you comment at all on what any of those circumstances would be that there lead you to believe gangs were involved in this?
The reason I would believe gangs were involved are because the 3 all belong to a gang, and if it was a brother, a sister, a family member, or a couple of friends just kind of hanging out, and one belonged to a gang, I would say then it might be a coincidence that this was gang or not gang related. But the fact that all 3 belong to a gang, and they all seem to be quite well.
So, guys, a seemingly gang-related shooting is what officials seem to be saying about this really awful event that happened at this racetrack in Wisconsin. That's the update there. We're going to switch it up, though, and go over to a SpaceX presser that's happening. This was slated for live today. We knew this was coming after they launched from Kennedy Space Center a SpaceX CSCX Falcon 9 rocket up to the ISS, the International Space Station, earlier today. And we had coverage of that, but we actually were in the middle of some other Charlottesville coverage with the president, so we didn't show you that. But right now they're holding a presser about it, so we can kind of get a little synopsis as to what's happening down there at Kennedy Space Center. So we're going to go down there live.
Comfort-wise after that, but we're serious. We've got the request in from SpaceX, and so we're taking a hard look at it. And I imagine it'll happen. It's just a matter of when it does occur.
Thanks. Which booster would that be?
That's more for you. I'm not quite sure. Again, the 13 CRS-13 mission is a brand new booster. Is the plan right now? Which reuse booster that is, I'm not sure that's been identified yet.
Yeah, I don't think we had any.
Our assessment, we're kind of looking at it generically. across all reused boosters. We're getting a lot of data in from each one of those. We're doing assessments on various components, various systems associated with that. There's some components that we know, even with the reuse, that SpaceX, changes out on a routine basis. So all that's in work, and like I said, come the end of September, we hope to have a call on that.
Thanks. And Hans, I just want to ask you, you had such a busy first half of the year, then a little bit of a gap here. How is the second half going to unfold for you? How many launches approximately? I think this was your 11th.
Yeah.
How many do you
The gap
anticipate?
was 6 weeks.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
not a long time, right? I mean, we used to launch every other month and then every month, and now every 2 weeks, and then you basically have like a little vacation in the middle, and everybody goes, we're on a break. I think it's going to continue in that pace. This is a little bit tied back to production and pre-flown boosters, and how the whole sequence stacks up, and how many of the pre-flown we can use. So the plan is to continue at that pace and bring it to a level of effort that we can sustain and keep going with, basically. And I do want to confirm it was CS10 on the pre-flown booster that you asked earlier. Yeah.
I believe we have one more question in the room.
Hans, Bill Jelen from We Report Space. So when you have the 9-day launch cadence, let's say that you start actually doing 9 days routinely, and you had to land at sea 2 consecutive times. Is there enough time to get the first stage back, unloaded, and return, Of Course I Still Love You, back for a second landing, or would you ever try and land 2 on the ship at the same time?
I don't think there's enough space, but we have 2 ships.
2 ships here?
We don't have 2 ships here, but ships can move around.
Okay.
It's a good question, frankly. I don't think you could ever. I mean, that would be super tight, and the ship is not very. It's a big ship. I mean, there's no question about that. But when you have the booster on it, it seems to shrink in size. And then 2 boosters, I don't think how this would work. Yeah.
Are there plans to move the other ship here?
I don't think there's plans right now. I think that's part of what goes into the sequence. You got to make sure that you stack the missions accordingly, so that you don't have like 2 successive sea launches, for example. Yeah. And by the way, I think the timing could work out too. It takes you a couple of days to go back, take it off, and then go back out there. I haven't really thought about this. I must admit, this is a really it's a good new question to me, but I think the timing could actually work out.
Anecdotally, you were pulling the booster off the ship the day before you were supposed to launch. Now it's late a day, so you would have been 1 day short. I'm sure you can speed things up.
I'm pretty sure 1 day is not a problem in that whole sequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Up front.
Hi, Thaddeus is there with the Utica Phoenix, and for Dan, I was hoping to get a generalized cost per astronaut for the U.S. commercial crew to compare to the current rate.
For me, I don't have those. We can get those. We can certainly provide what's been provided.
And as a follow-up, is there a litany of potential customers in the future that are expected to shift or migrate to the U.S. commercial crew?
Certainly, we'll have our needs to support the astronauts we plan to fly for USOS crew members. For what we plan to do to maintain and operate and do our research on board the International Space Station. Other uses for additional crew members. Ours is going to be for crew of 4. If there's other uses that SpaceX or other passenger capability that they're taking into account, I'd have to ask them.
Okay. Seeing no more questions in the room, we'll go ahead and wrap up today's post-launch news conference. As a reminder, the Dragon will arrive at the International Space Station on Wednesday, with NASA television coverage starting at 5:30 a.m. and expected capture at 7 a.m. If you'd like to keep up with the status of today's mission, please visit www.nasa.gov/SpaceX. And to continue to learn more about the International Space Station, visit www.nasa.gov/station. Thank you for joining us.
4, 3, 2, 1. The liftoff the Falcon 9 takes flight with the Dragon spacecraft destined for the one-of-a-kind laboratory of microgravity, the International Space Station.
The Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
So some coverage there from NASA. That was sort of a recap of what they did today and a live press conference answering some of the questions there in the room. I can't imagine how cool that would be to be on the ground there watching that rocket take off. Super cool stuff. All right, guys, with that, I'm giving you just a live shot of the White House here today in D.C. That's what it looks like here in Washington. I'm in the digital newsroom at Fox 5 D.C. in Washington. We're going to jump quickly over to California, where we're getting in another source in Santa Clarita, California, for a healthcare rally. We're just getting this in now, so I'm listening to it. It is live. We're going to jump over there now and see if that's interesting, just so you can kind of stay in the loop of what's happening there. Lots of stuff always happening, protests and rallies, and this is no different. So let's go over there, Santa Clarita, California. I apologize, guys. My captioning is not working, so I can't give you sort of a lower third of what this is, but let's check it out for some visuals.
All right, hello? All right, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out today. First off, I wanted to take a moment to remember those that were lost over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia, and take a moment for that attack that took place. No act of terrorism should ever be mislabeled based on skin color or creed. Today we are congregated here near Steve Knight's office to remember the vote he made 2 months ago on the AHCA. The organizers here are CA 25 United for Progress, along with Indivisible and other democratic and progressive groups. We want to bring light to the vote he made to strip over 40,000 people in his own district of their health care. This was a betrayal to his constituents and an inline vote with Trump. This is something no member of Congress should do. They need to vote their conscience, not their party. Everybody here knows somebody who is either affected or benefited by the ACA in some way or another. We have family members, we have friends, or we are ourselves. My dad benefits from being a stage 4 cancer patient. My sister benefits from being a Crohn's disease patient. My girlfriend benefits from being a type 1 diabetic patient. And we've all benefited in some way. The AHCA has shown itself to be demonstrably wrong. People who are over 50 shouldn't pay 5 times more for their health insurance just because of their age. They shouldn't pay 5 times more than I should. Everybody is equally available to their own health care that's affordable to them. And that's why health care is not a privilege, it is a right. And now I'd like to bring up Dr. Pamela Dean, who is an emergency room doctor.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. My name is Dr. Pam Dean. I'm an emergency physician at Olive View UCLA Medical Center, which is in Sylmar, not far from here. And Olive View, in case you're not familiar with it, is one of LA County's 3 public hospitals. We take care of the medically indigent. And I've been working at Olive View for over 22 years now, actually, and so I've really seen quite a lot of evolution in our healthcare. And I take care of our sickest and our most medically indigent patients in Los Angeles County, not far from here, really just like 15-minute drive. So 20 years ago, before the Medi-Cal expansion happened, a huge proportion of our sickest patients were those who just couldn't get basic primary care. They couldn't get medications for diabetes, high blood pressure, actually pretty easily treated medical problems. And so they would get sick. They would come into the hospital with heart attacks and strokes and diabetic ketoacidosis and things that are entirely preventable if they had access to routine primary care. But they didn't, and so they came into the hospital. They would have very expensive hospitals.
There's a difference between carrying torches and pulling a trigger, of course. If you want to march and let vile things roll off your tongue, I'm okay with it. That's your right to free speech, no matter how pathetic and revealing of white privilege the speech is.
Hey guys, if you're just joining us, welcome to the stream. I'm kind of switching it up here today, back and forth, different sources. Stig, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. It's good to see you back. We just switched it over to a source in North Carolina, guys, going from a healthcare rally in California to now a live feed of a North Carolina Stop the Violence rally. Obviously, lots of stuff regarding this pertaining to stopping violence and protesting against hate is coming out in the coming days and now because of this weekend's past events. So we had a lot of coverage of that this morning. Hope that if you missed it, you can go back on our feed and check it out. We had a cool guest on who was an eyewitness for the Charlottesville violence this past weekend. But now, getting in this feed from this rally in Carolina. So let's take a listen in here, and then we'll come back in to the newsroom.
Illinois Supreme Court ruled that flying the swastika is protected under the First Amendment. So what is new? President Trump. Whether it's fudging facts about crime-infested cities, or painting immigrants as members of ISIS or drug cartels, Trump continues to light a fire under those white men who believe they want their country back. Never mind that their country belongs to all of us. We the people, liberty, and justice for all. Those words can't be dismissed when the president's staff includes multi-flag bearers of hate. Steve Bannon, Sebastian Gorka, and others. Make no mistake about it, an apology today is about 2 days too late.
Yes.
We have to call out racism when we see it.
Yes.
We have to call it out when we hear it.
Yes.
We have to call it out when we feel it. There is an undercurrent in our country that is very visible today. Connect the dots. Here in Charlotte, we got work to do.
Oh, yeah.
All of us. Because we must make sure, as we stand here today and we move forward, that this is an inclusive community.
That's right.
That this is a diverse community. That we love everybody, black and white, rich and poor, young and old, all the same.
Yeah.
Because when we cry, we all cry tears.
Yeah.
And when we bleed, we all bleed red blood.
Yeah.
We are all in this together.
Yeah.
And that's why I stand here in memory of my sister and the 8 others who lost their lives in Emmanuel, because this continues in our country, and we have to, at every means possible, every opportunity we get a chance, to say no more, no more,
No more.
no more,
No more.
forward together.
Forward together, not one step back.
There you go. Thank you.
Amen. I bring to you Bishop Mays.
Greetings to Pastor, this great church, to candidates and all the city council. I'm Bishop Amir Mays, Senior
Abundant Faith Word Church, been pastoring now 16 months, and ever since I came here, been trying to be the voice for justice. We have two-headed demons today. One is racism, and the other is classism. Racism played a major part in Virginia this past weekend. Classism didn't even get immediate coverage there in Chicago, where 22 people were shot and 5 dead. Doesn't their voice deserve media coverage? Doesn't their family deserve our prayers? Doesn't their family deserve peace? But because of classism, a lot of those voices and the bloods are crying from the ground and no one cares. And yet we find Virginia. I would say to you, let's not give so much attention to clowns in suits. Don't be derailed. Focus on what really matters. It's really not about black and white anymore. That was my grandfather's world. It's about following the money. Who's funding the Ku Klux Klan? Who's funding white supremacy groups? The chance of the matter, if you want to look for white supremacists and Klansmen yesterday, they were easily defined. They were in our American churches. This is why Caucasian leaders must not only hide behind the desks of their pulpits, they must stand with us for justice for all. Because chances are you'll pass a white supremacist that would never give a thought to come into my church. So that's why we have to come together. Follow the dollar. It's amazing to me as an ex-athlete. A lot of men have been readmitted to the NFL that have beat their wives, that have gun charges, drug charges. But one man stands today, can't get a contract because he took a knee for justice of all. Follow the dollar. Sometimes when you follow the dollar, it'll make a lot of sense. So instead of marching, why not speak to the NFL and say, why is this? Instead of marching, 85% of the NFL are African-American athletes, but only one took a knee. The chances are, it's not, some of us won't get involved till one of our kids gets shot, or one of our parishioners in our congregation gets treated unjustly. We have to come together. Chances are, most of you don't know, from a town called South Haven, Michigan. 35% of the people are Caucasian. The truth of the matter is, regardless of what people tell you, all Caucasians are not bad. All black people are not bad. There's demons in every race and every ethnicity. What we have to focus on is doing the work of God. What is the work of God? We spend too much time in churches than spending time feeding the homeless. That's called classism. We spend too much time in the churches rather than educating our children. And the Bible says, my children are destroyed not for a lack of race, but for a lack of knowledge. Once we empower our children to realize who they are and realize where they come from, they have no problem with embracing their future. So it's good for us to come together. It's good for us to dissipate and down Trump, talk about Trump. It's good for us to renounce racism. But it's not until we be able to fund our children, whether they're white, black, blue, or brown, to understand it's not about your race. It's not about classism. But when your child has the same opportunity that my child has, that a child that's in the city have the same opportunity that a person from the suburb has, then we can find equality. But not until then. Racism and classism will always hunt us as Americans. Well, they say make America great again. I never really found America to be great as an African American. I don't know what you're talking about when we was lynched from trees after you had churches. I don't know if you're talking about being down after carrying Skittles. I don't remember America being great. That's your story. That's not my story. My story is that my fathers and my grandmothers and my grandmothers, kings and queens, were beaten because of the outward pulchritude of their skin. And for that reason, we cannot continue that. We must come together. And once again, I challenge every Caucasian pastor to do what Ron Parsley did yesterday. Denounce racism and sin in your congregation.
Amen. I bring to you Rabbi Asher Knight.
Charlottesville is a symptom of a deep and profound and long simmering illness in our country. In previous generations in our country, that symptom was no less dangerous, no less destructive. But after the Civil War, the most vocal perpetrators of hate often hid behind hoods. Not in 2017. This past weekend, we saw extremists waving banners that read, "Jews are Satan's children." We heard chants, "Jews will not replace us." They yelled "blood and soil," an English translation and rendition of a Nazi chant. They screamed, "The heat here is nothing compared to what you're going to get in the ovens." They spoke with vitriol against immigrants and Muslims and said that black lives don't matter too. Someone killed Heather Heyer and injured more in an act of domestic terrorism. And this past weekend, we witnessed an attack on America, and we heard deafening silence in the face of equivalencies hiding behind political calculation. I come here today with a particular Jewish perspective. It's a perspective born from the scope of Jewish history. As Jews, we have walked in the valley of the shadows. Death and sorrow and oppression, they're not strangers to us. We are a people that has learned to weep, but not just once and not just for ourselves. As Jews, we were strangers and slaves in Egypt. We fought on the front lines of the civil rights movement, and our prophets and our history have bequeathed to us a moral vision that calls out to us to act with the values transmitted to us by the generations that came before us, to confront hate and oppressive forces quickly and vigorously, to recognize our own roles and our own responsibilities, our complacency, and when we are silent too often, and to create the promised land of our future, a world where love and compassion and justice and freedom are the values upon which our great country is built. President Obama called this effort the attempt to narrow the gap between the promise of our ideals and the reality of our time. The world as it is not as it ought to be. Our country as it is not as it ought to be. Our city as it is not as it ought to be. And we can get to a better place, but it requires a vision of what a world and our country and our city can yet be, holding hands and walking boldly together. Friends, we can speak our prayers, and we can say our amens, and we can make our resolutions. But the amens and the resolutions will do nothing and mean nothing unless they have actions behind them. When a Muslim woman's hijab is ripped off her head and she is ridiculed, we have to feel the garment pulled from our bodies too. We have to stand by her side fighting for her rights. When a refugee escapes pain and suffering and persecution to make their way to the promise and potential of the United States, we do not raise our fists to tell them to go back into a burning building. Rather, we welcome them as the poet Emma Lazarus wrote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free." When young black boys and girls are told that their lives don't matter, our dignity is ruptured with theirs, and we stand by their side fighting for their rights. When a note is left for a gay man saying that his family no longer counts, our families shudder with a threat, and we stand by their side fighting for their rights. When neo-Nazis march with swastikas yelling, "We're heating the ovens now," our Jewish eyes meet with our non-Jewish brethren, because as Jews, we know that many of us are here today because righteous people stood by our side in our times of need. We Jews know the cost of silence. We remember where we come from. We will link arms because when people come to our neighbors for our neighbors, it's not long before they come for us. And when people come for us, it's not long before they come for our neighbors. May we be strong enough to feel each other's pain. May we be blessed enough to celebrate each other's joys. May we be brave enough to stand side by side like we are today when it is dark. And may we have the fortitude to hold each other's hands, walking side by side until we reach the light that is peering over the horizon. Amen.
As
bring to you Imam Khalil Akbar.
Greetings to Pastor Walker, to all of you who are gathered here today to address the problem of hate. It is difficult sometimes to address the real issue and the real problem without being charged with being a troublemaker. Because the people who control our lives and control our society have done a good job painting a picture of well-being, prosperity, and everything is all right. So when someone comes and acts in the role of the child in the story of the emperor's clothing, you know, in that story, the emperor's clothing, there was this naked, nude, obscene man who was absolutely naked. But because of the people's slavish devotion to him, they wouldn't tell him the truth. Right. Instead, they complimented him on the splendor of his clothing that did not exist. Right. Instead, they told him, "Oh, your clothing is so beautiful." And then along comes a child who says, "Man, you're naked. You're indecent. You don't have any clothes on. You ought to be ashamed of yourself." So when we sometimes speak of the real issues and the real problems, we'll sometimes call troublemakers when we're really being like the child in the story of the emperor's clothing who sees that everything is not all right.
That's right.
Jesus, the great prophet called Christ in Christian theology and Islamic theology, they like to call him a peacemaker. And they even call him the Prince of Peace. But with all due respect, I read him a little differently. I don't see him as a great peacemaker only, and I definitely don't see him in the role that Hollywood has given him, as being some weak, feeble-looking thing that if you blow hard enough at him, he'd fall apart. I see him as a man raised up by the power of God to speak the truth, even if it was against the established order. As he says in the Bible, "Think not that I came to bring peace. I came to bring a sword." And the sword is an emblem of justice that was used in his time. This is in the Bible. Don't think I'm speaking from anything except the Bible. Jesus was not a man who humbly submitted to the corrupt forces in society. When he saw the corrupt money changers in the temple, he didn't rub his hand. He didn't drop his head and say, "God, have mercy on you." He grabbed them and bodily threw them out of the temple. I want to say this to us. God always hears the plight of the oppressed and has never forsaken us. He was with our great freedom fighters. He was with Frederick Douglass when he was working for equality and justice. He was with Harriet when she was going back and forth carrying slaves to freedom through the Underground Railroad. He was with Sojourner Truth, an abolitionist and worker for women's rights. He was with Nat Turner and John Brown. He was with Marcus Garvey. He was with Booker T and Du Bois. He was with Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and our most popular and best-known freedom fighter, Dr. Martin Luther King, and the Marchers for Freedom and Social Equality. He was with Imam W.D. Muhammad, our late leader, who taught us that race and color, nationality were part of diversity, but our common humanity were more important. So what is my point? God has never forsaken us. We have to believe if God has sent help to people in the past who suffered like we suffered, then he is obligated to give us that same kind of help, or even more. If there's a reason for him to help people who have not suffered as much as we've suffered, then there are 10 reasons for him to help us. We're all the sum total of all that we've experienced. In these so-called modern times, we witnessed the assassinations of great leaders. President Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy, Malcolm Shabazz, Dr. Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Vietnam, and on we can go talking about other traumatic experiences. The psychological trauma of these experiences affected all of us in similar but also different ways and helped to shape what America is today. We are divided by race and ethnicity, social status, wealth. Not that these conditions did not exist before these events that I'm talking about, because we know that they did, and we're not in denial about that. But today it has become more vivid because of mass communication. Today we're still having to deal with the ghosts of the past. Even though we've had an African-American president, his presidency revealed the divide that is still in the American psyche. Right. He was accused of dividing America more than any other president. Right. Well, it may surprise you. I've come to believe that they're right, but not because of anything he said or did. If we are honest with ourselves as Americans, we have to confront feelings that we in many cases did not know existed in our subconscious mind. His election to the highest, most powerful and prestigious office in the world, excited our emotions, either in positive or negative ways. So I have come to believe that the opinion held by some Americans that he was a divisive figure is not so far-fetched. And this is what has caused many of us to line up by race, sexual orientation, and even social status. His very presence excited the best human emotions in us and the worst as well. So we celebrated that America had finally taken a big step towards becoming that more perfect union. Some even said that we're now living in a post-racial society. For those of us who celebrated, did so often with little regard for those who felt differently, and the election of this African American from a biracial background became a symbol to them that the America that they were comfortable with no longer existed. So they retreated into a social cocoon and remained there as the so-called forgotten America until Donald Trump became the president. What has happened since then? The division are greater now than ever. But what's evident is that we have to deal with the ghosts that we thought were long past. This gathering has been organized to address the hate of racists who think that if America is to be great again, they must take what they call their country back from the liberals, the black and white, from the Mexicans who they have been led to believe are taking their jobs, from African Americans who they think are receiving their tax dollars through welfare. I believe that there are two Americas, both competing for domination. There's an ugly America that is hateful, racist, and intolerant. And there's America, the beautiful, where freedom and opportunity are available for all of its citizens. That America is the one we hear about in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created, and women, all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. America the Beautiful is also introduced by an inscription that is written on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired and your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That is America the Beautiful, that invites immigrants to come here for a better life. The America who is good and humane, that does not tolerate hate mongering and bigotry, even if it comes from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in D.C., or from fringe elements that want to take this country back to the time of Jim Crow. We have heard the campaign slogan, "Let's make America great again." This is nothing but code language that subtly said, "Let's make America all white again." I say, let us make America fulfill its potential of becoming that shining light on the hill that the world can see as a model for any society on the planet, a land of opportunity where there is no discrimination. And let us make America the Beautiful that guarantees that all of her citizens get freedom, justice, and equality. Thank you very much. God bless you.
County Commissioner Pat Houghton.
Thank you. I'm kind of short, so I'll stand over here. it's rather intimidating to follow these wonderful faith leaders. Now, if I fall, somebody will tweet it. But as I said, it's rather intimidating to follow these wonderful orators from our faith community and our state senate, I might add, as well. When I heard about this the other day, we all have our own experiences. And I thought about my dad, because he was a World War II veteran, and his job, he worked in intelligence, and he caught German Nazi spies who were trying to enter the United States, who were coming in from South America. So I thought about him. And then I thought about 1975, when I lived in Louisiana, and I thought about meeting this supposedly star of the town of Denham Springs, Louisiana, David Duke, who was also a young man. I think he was a couple of years older than I was. And then I heard him speak. And it was, I'll always remember that. I was like, I have never in my life been more disgusted than I was when I heard him. And I saw how people responded to him. And the town was a rather African-American town. And I asked them, how do you do this? And they were like, well, that's just the world we have. And there was this defeatism that was very scary. And I was very glad to leave Louisiana because it was just such a shock. So I thought about that the other day. I also thought about, when this happened, I thought about our president. Now, any other time, he responds within 2 seconds to condemn somebody. Whether it was John Lewis or Maxine Waters, he comes out in 2 seconds and he condemns people on Twitter. But he was silent. And I have to disagree with one of the previous speakers who said that these groups have come out because of the internet and because of social media. I believe these groups are emboldened by our president. And they are coming out because of that. Right before I came here, the president made a statement, which was obviously he did not write. And I have to say, he covered some of the things that he should have said, but it did not begin to address the issues of condemning. He talked nothing about action. He didn't say that he wanted to rid the White House of any of his staff members who supported these groups. He did not say that. He did not say anything about the Department of Justice that was going to investigate. He did not. He didn't talk about action. He made his statement that someone else read, someone else wrote, and then he took no questions. And then I drove over here. We are not in a good place. We all know that. We are not in a good place. This mosquito is not making it a good place for me either. I said at the rally last night that we have to, it's not going to be helpful if we just say he's bad, or they're wrong. We have to say we have to have a message of what we're going to do to make it better. We have to have a message. That's why the Democrats lost. We didn't have a message. All we did was say, he's terrible. And that wasn't enough. So I just ask you to think about that. Instead of just saying all these things are awful, we have to work to educate ourselves about it. We have to learn more. We have to talk to our children, because our children, this is just as I have memories and you have memories of your life when you were a child. How they are going to be so confused with this memory. I went to a banquet on Saturday night of the Torrance Lytle alumni, which was the first African-American school in Mecklenburg County. and it closed in 1966, so people were older. And I asked a man who was sitting next to me, what are your good memories of high school? And he paused, and then he said, I don't have any. That really took me back, but I believe he was being honest with me, and I appreciated that. So I just ask us, and school's going to be starting soon, I hope our CMS, our teachers will address these issues and give kids time to ask questions. And I just think we need to, as adults here, we need to, and in our faith communities, we need to think about our children. So I'll just end here, but I just want to thank, it's interesting to be looking you in the face, to be tall. I'm tall for a few minutes. But thank you, Reverend Walker. You always give us aggressive hospitality, and I thank you very, very much for that. And I thank everyone else for being here and everyone who's in the audience. God bless America. God bless our America. Amen. And you know, Amen. One last thing, someone said, and I've seen in the news, that this was domestic terrorism. I think this is American terrorism, because these are Americans doing this. We have to call it, so that if we don't name it, we can't fight it. I'm a fighter.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. Thank you.
I bring to you Scott Huffman, the founder of Indivisible.
Invisible Charlotte.
Okay,
Thank
Indivisible
you.
Charlotte. There you go.
Yes. Excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse from the rally I led last night at Marshall Park, and it was so wonderful to see so many people come out and show solidarity and support in what happened. And, you know, I say to you, and I call this what it is vile in the strongest terms. These hate groups push their vile message of white supremacy, fascism, anti-Semitism, and bigotry, and it's been fueled by Trump. There is no doubt in my heart that he fuels this. And it is vile, and it is a horrific destruction of human life. And we are going to push back. We are going to stand here united, and we are going to demand that our leaders, if I want to call them that, with respect to Trump and the supremacists that he has in his administration. But we expect guidance and words of hope and support to help us understand the very pain that we are faced with. Yet on both occasions, he has failed to step up to the leadership that he claimed that he was going to do for all America. You know, the bigotry and fascism and the white supremacy is just terrible, and his weak condemnation of this is just as complicit. Donald Trump has no problem attacking the press and calling y'all fake news. He has no problem attacking Black Lives Matter or the LGBT community or Muslims or immigrants. He has no problem supporting Putin and thanking him for reducing the staff payroll in the Russian embassy. You know, but yet when it was an opportunity for him to call what was actually happening, terrorism, and I appreciate Commissioner Cotham's description of American terrorism, that's what it was. It is an act against our brothers and sisters who live in this country and contribute to its success. And there is no success from hate and white supremacy. There is no success from bigotry. There is no success from racism. And I tell you, as a former Navy sailor, I am appalled to see a Nazi flag or a Confederate flag fly in side by side with the American flag.
That's right.
It is wrong, it is un-American, and why in our country can we not make those signs of hate illegal? Hate is not supported or guaranteed under free speech. You know, in Germany, if you were part of a Nazi group after World War II, or if you flew the Nazi flag, or if you raised your hand and said Sieg Heil, you are going to find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. And they have outlawed those groups in that country. So I ask, why can't we do that here?
That's right.
We need to do that here.
That's right.
Because when we allow them to use the symbols of hate, to use the symbols of bigotry and racism, that only encourages them to be more bolden and to stand up without their hoods on. We saw a group of people march onto a campus with torches ablazing all too reminiscent of our history and our world's history, because it was done in the dread of night. And those people just have nothing but hate in their hearts for anybody who does not support their ideology. And I tell you, as the founder of Indivisible Charlotte, I felt the need to stand up and lead, and that's why I started that group. We have rallied outside of Senator Tillis's office since January, and demanding that Senator Tillis hear our voices. He's refused to meet with us. He's refused to vote to protect people's health care. They want to undo everything that President Obama was able to achieve during his administration. So when Trump sits there and says it's both sides, I tell you right now, when I look at these people and I stand with them, I don't see any mace in their hands. I don't see sticks and poles. I don't see shields up to protect them. We stand here defenseless but united. We stand here strong with love and peace, and we will fight back, and we will turn the tides of hate. And therefore, that's why I stand here with these people, because I know they have peace in their hearts, they have love in their hearts, and we are going to fight racism, bigotry, white supremacy, and we're going to do it. It will be my last breath if I fall. But I am here to stand with these people and do what is right, because we are on the right side. And President Trump has clearly shown he is not on the right side. Thank you.
Thank you. I bring to you Pastor Amantha Barbie.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming out today to stand against racism, to stand against hatred, to stand against those who stand against America. What we stand for is love and respect of one another. We all are created in God's image. I don't care where you live, who your parents are, how much money you have or have not. We are made in God's image. Today, I speak to the silent. If you would take some time, get on the internet, go to the library, start with slavery in this country, and start looking at images. Start looking at the images of the Holocaust. Start looking at the images of the Civil Rights Movement, and move to the images of this weekend in Charlottesville. How can you sit silent? Your silence is saying it's okay. This is not okay. You say, oh, we just got to pray about it. That's not enough.
That's right.
Faith without action is what? Dead. Do we want to live?
Yeah.
Or do we want to die? We have the opportunity to make a choice today and every day.
Every day.
When you get up in the morning, you can say, I want to live today, and not ignore those who want to disperse hatred. We cannot ignore those who have negative rhetoric. We cannot ignore those who think that anybody is less than. We have a right and a privilege to live in this wonderful country, and we cannot afford to let the racist and supremacists in this country win. If we sit silent, they win. If we speak up, we stand up, we get up, they will lose. Love conquers hate. Take a stand today. Refuse to accept this. This is unacceptable in every way imaginable. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or independent. If you can watch the events over the timeline I just gave you and say, oh, that's okay, something is wrong. It is wrong. And we will be wrong as we say nothing.
That's right.
Speak up today. Make a difference. I bring to you Ruth Perez.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here in a group of Latinos are united with the meaning of love. Love doesn't have transparency, it doesn't have color, it doesn't have color scheme, white, black, yellow, any color. Love is love. And if we believe that there's a creator that created us, there's no soul between you and I.
That's right.
Today we stand together in unity with our brothers and sisters in Charlottesville, Virginia. And we tell you, Mr. Trump, you are defeated because there's a big warrior standing together. And we're going to prove you that love defeats hate.
Yes.
As Charlotteans, we don't want that hate to come over and contagious. So let's get together and become one as a big army and prove that together we can overcome anything. Anything. If we have to remember to go back in the old days, and if they went through it and they got victory, we also deserve that victory. All right? So let's keep on together, lighting up that shiny light together, speaking and demonstrating, like my sister was saying, faith without action is dead. And if we don't start marching at one step together, we won't see the difference. I am here in Charlotte to make that difference. My people here in Charlotte are here to make the difference. Let's show the world, not only USA, that we can be together without hate.
Amen.
Hi, my name is Debbie Snowden, and I'm a justice advocate. I'm feeling so much anger right now at my own community. I heard this on the radio this morning, and it was so disturbing that when Trump, the candidate, was wondering whether he needed to push back against the racist support that he was getting, there were numerous studies done telling him no, that whites would not say anything. He could still get elected, still get the white vote, and he didn't need to push back. And he's feeling that today. Well, I'm feeling like our community is getting off really lightly. You all have been so loving and so polite to us. We need to be called out. We need anger directed at us. And I mean, all of us, even people who care, we don't care enough. We don't have the guts to speak out. I wear a Black Lives Matter hat. I have white people come up and go, "You're so brave." I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean brave? It's a hat. Like, is that not the least we can do? Why am I not seeing more of them? I'm angry, and thank you.
So in closing, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. But like my sister who just spoke, my sister from another mother, another father, it is so important that our white counterparts here in Charlotte in particular understand their responsibility. That implicit bias plays as large a role in hurt as hate. Many of you are not even aware of your biases, but the way you interact with African Americans and brown people every single day shows us every single day how you feel about us. We are in a right-to-work state where we have mothers and fathers working 2 and 3 jobs to provide for their families. We're in a city where homelessness is on the rise. We're number 50 in the country in terms of upward mobility for Black people. All these things talk about what this city feels about people of color. We have races going on this year in the city council, the mayor, and school board. I ask each and every citizen of Charlotte to be very clear about who you're supporting, because I was in the street every night with my brother and some brothers and sisters out there. And we had the National Guard call on us for protesting the hurt and harm and murder of African American men and women. I did not see National Guard yesterday or the day before or the day before. I didn't even hear a suggestion of the National Guard being called in when we had people in full regalia, prepared
for war. Helmets, knives, guns, bricks, sticks, and anything else you can think of to harm. And not one time was a National Guard called in. So talking about disparate treatment, let's talk about Charlotte, not Charlottesville, but Charlotte. Let's be real and transparent about what's happening here in Charlotte. Because if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, I call many political leaders political prostitutes and pimps of the people of color of Charlotte. And we will no longer tolerate that either. I know some of you vote for those people you know because they live down the road a piece, but the person down the road a piece may not be the best for the citizens of Charlotte, especially black people of Charlotte and brown people of Charlotte. We have so much to do and very little time to do it. But let's be very clear. We, each and every one of us, have a responsibility to commit to more, to do more, to speak up, to stand up, and to realize that each and every one of us have been gifted by God to do something to make us better. God bless you all. God bless Charlotte, and God bless America. Any questions?
All right, guys, we're going to bring it back into the digital newsroom now. Thank you so much for watching the stream. I see Texas, you joined on with us later. So thanks for coming on as usual and offering your comment on today's stream. Guys, if you missed it, you can go back in the stream and take a look at today. We had an awesome special guest on, Joe Carabeo, who was an eyewitness account of the events in Charlottesville over the weekend. Lots of interesting footage and really just verbal account from him of what he experienced there as we continue to follow the follow-up from the violence that ensued in Charlottesville this weekend. We also bounced around to some other stuff, including NASA, which I will say has its even bigger event next Monday, guys. 1 week from today is the solar eclipse, August 21st. We're going to be doing a very special live stream for it here. It's going to be multiple hours in length, and we're going to have a lot of special guests and people kind of calling in, Skyping in, a lot of information, a lot of sources from both NASA and our O&Os, our Fox stations across the country. Because as you know, DC, we're going to get 81% darkness, but not a full blackout for the eclipse like some of the other cities that are along that route. The closest one being Nashville and Charleston, South Carolina. So anyway, 1 week from today, guys, NASA has its even bigger event. Today they launched the Falcon 9 rocket up to the ISS in space. So that was pretty cool to kind of see that press conference. And so, yeah, mix of stuff today. But I want to thank you guys so much for being on the stream. It's just me, Molly Nevola, in the newsroom today. No interns this week. So you'll be on with me in the digital this week if you join us at 11:30 during the week. And we take you through the afternoon with all the live stuff going on. Hope you enjoyed that last rally, the Stop the Violence rally in North Carolina. Again, lots of that expected and really interesting to see as everything develops from after this weekend in Charlottesville. So with that, guys, we're gonna leave you and catch you tomorrow on the stream. Thanks as always for joining us, and subscribe to our channel. Press that red button that says subscribe, and we'll be here for you. We'll pop up on the app. We're on our website, fox5dc.com, and often post a bunch of these streams to Facebook, so you can join us on all platforms, guys. All right. Thanks for bearing with our technical issues today as well. And check us out if you want to rewatch the stream for the cool eyewitness guest account that we had from Joe earlier today. All right, guys, we'll catch you tomorrow. Take care. Leave you with a shot of the Capitol Dome here in D.C.